I guess this is a pseudo cringe moment of the week, but I want to talk about this because this has really been making the rounds. This is from, let's see how I can make sure I do this. This is Newsom talking about the idea of rebuilding LA and what it's going to look like. So, um, here we go. And rewind a little bit. And here we go.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be. I was just talking.
It's a short video, but I think the thing that grabbed people's attention that was kind of cringy about him was this little dance. What was this little dance that he was doing? He was talking about, I talked to Josh Green down in Hawaii and we're talking about rebuilding. And he's like, we're rebuilding LA. And this is what he like got a little too excited about. We're rebuilding.
I think what happened. No, okay, for real. Because psychologically, like I wanted to know, like psychologically, what is going through his head, and I don't know. But he says down in Hawaii, and I think he started to like luau. I think he was like belly dancing.
Maybe he was trying to be like, this is what they do in Hawaii. They luau.
So funny because Newsom is an excellent politician. I mean, he is the like epitome of politician with the hand motions and like he's very well spoken, you know, he's very articulate and he's always got the look and he's always prepared and all that. So then all of a sudden when he broke into that, I sincerely was like, what is going on here? And I'm like, luau. Hawaii, he just went straight to like belly dancing. Like
I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Maybe he just thought, maybe he was just thinking, drifting away on those Hawaiian sounds. He was just thinking down in Hawaii, they're talking about, you know, luau's and how they're rebuilding Maui. But it is a little weird for him to, it's weird for him to be talking about rebuilding LA and doing this kind of like, oh, we're going to talk about rebuilding. It's exciting. And you had sent me something about
so out of touch.
It's just in all of his benevolence,
still burning. Like it's just
in all of his benevolence, our esteemed and sympathetic ruler, Gavin Newsom, told the people whose houses have now burned to the ground, there's nothing left of them. He said, don't worry. You don't have to pay your property taxes right now. You can pay them later on the house that's been burned down. Now, obviously, you're paying on the property. I get it. I know people are going to be like, you're paying on the property. But it feels kind of like, well, we're just going to delay it 6 months. You don't have to pay right now. You can pay later this year your property tax, which is still due. Enjoy your burnt down house.
So I ranted about that. I have a whole reel on my Instagram about that because it bugged me for days and I just needed to get it out. And
yeah, it's kind of that's tone deaf to tell people as if that's a good thing that you don't have to pay your property taxes when your house is gone.
He's literally says this. He's standing in front of someone's burnt down home, and he's like, "I signed this executive order." Which, okay, yes, absolutely, I agree with that, but it felt like a breadcrumb, you know, like. I'm standing in front of your burnt down house telling you that you can wait to pay your property taxes. Most of you probably know property taxes are generally split into two payments, one being due in around December and then another one in April-ish. I think that's how pretty much most property taxes work. And your property taxes are based on your land value and your improvement value. And then there's taxes on top of those, and depending on where you live, obviously you have different, my property tax bill is going to be different from yours, all that. There's a cap on how much of a percentage that the state can charge, but then they have little things. And if you are in a fire zone, you typically do pay more, or like there's an extra, whatever. So your property taxes in LA, the city of LA, are going towards the mayor's salary. They're going towards your school systems. They're going towards infrastructure. They're going towards, what else are they going towards? Firefighters, first responders, police, et cetera, et cetera. So he's standing in front of this house being like, I know you lost your home. So you don't actually have improvement value on your property taxes anymore. There's no improvement value there. Your land value likely went down. Karen Bass wasn't even in the country when this all started. The firefighters weren't able to save your home, and your children don't have a school, but you now have an extended deadline to pay the property taxes. Like, oh my gosh, that's such a slap in the face. And and of course, yes. Like, but I just feel like it was almost like, well, duh. Of course, their property taxes can be extended now. Like, obviously, but property taxes.
Property taxes.
Let's go home, Newsom. Go home.
Yeah, it is incredibly tone deaf. It is just this whole thing has been a disaster for him, public perception wise, how he hasn't been able to handle this. We all know he's going to run for president in 2028. We all know he's trying to maneuver his way through and blame other people on this. And he's not coming out smelling like roses, which is why they're probably pivoting as fast as possible to sue Donald Trump. I saw on the San Francisco Chronicle, which I posted right before we hopped on here, that they are now suing Donald Trump over birthright citizenship. We're not going to get into that in terms of like what that's all about. I haven't even really looked into it. I know it's a disputed legal question whether or not the 14th Amendment does it. I'm sure people might come at me and say it's unequivocally. That's not the point of tonight's episode. I haven't read into it, so I'm just going to say I don't know. I haven't read it to form a legal opinion about it.
Look forward to your opinion when you do.
Okay.
I pretty much said it to you, though. I was like, hey, find this out. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it a little bit more, but that wasn't the point of tonight's episode. So they're trying to pivot as fast as possible away from the fires, because I think now there's a huge spotlight on LA. And like we talked about last week about salaries, and disclaimer, just to address the fact that sometimes when you start to grow a little bit of a following on social media and people who listen to your podcast, sometimes you're going to get a troll who comes out from under the bridge. And there was one particular troll who wanted to make a whole deal about how we talked about salaries related to the LA Department of Water and Power. And I guess he thought that it was okay for them to get paid that much money. And I don't remember ever saying it in the video that was on Instagram about how they're funded. They are funded by rates, not by taxpayers. So that's just clarification, which to me, I'm just going to say this. I think that sounds way worse if the LADWP is funded by rates and you're paying a lot of your employees almost $1 million, which makes me think you may be gouging the citizens of LA by making them pay exorbitant rates to fund these salaries. But that's besides the point.
Well, there's taxes on those. On your property taxes, you pay a rate, but there's a tax on that rate. And I should have sent you, because I definitely looked at a lot of images of actual property tax bills, because you could just like pretend like you're trying to pay your taxes and like type in an address. And I was typing in like addresses of homes that were probably lost in the Palisades area and looking at property taxes, and it won't put the name, but you can find the address and everything and look through the actual, what are they being charged for, and there's taxes on those rates.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, in fact, taxpayers, but yes, then they're gouging the rates, which
right.
they're all Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, and they're like, I'm gonna do this now every time I say Gavin Newsom.
That's just gonna be our new thing for Gavin Newsom.
I apologize in advance, but I'm just gonna go on to my luau mode, But they're saying, like, they put out these statements that anyone caught price gouging. Like, no, you've been price gouging for years, people. Like, that's
yeah,
your job.
If I hear Robert Reich talk about how much CEOs make compared to entry level positions, I looked this up this weekend because it was bugging me. I was like, okay, let me just Look this up. Entry level position in the LA Department of Water and Power. The starting pay is $56,000. $56,000, I don't think in Los Angeles can buy you a room or rent a room in LA if you share it with 6 other people. Like, that's despicable. And yet the CEO is getting paid $750,000, and you have people who are making overtime of almost $1 million. Like, yeah, I don't want to hear Robert Reich talk about how private CEOs, they make so much money over their entry level people. And it's like, okay, but let's talk about these public monopolies that are granted by the government and how much their CEOs are getting paid, as opposed to the entry level people who are at $56,000, probably couldn't afford anything in Los Angeles. So
And I
we got off
100%
on a tangent.
not against people making a fair wage. But
Mhm.
I do believe that when it comes to politics, you're a public servant. You're supposed to be from that area. You're serving the people of your area. You probably hopefully ran because you were like, I feel like I could maybe fix these things or improve on things, or I would be good at handling these things. And I just think there should be term limits for everything, including Congress. But run and serve your people, and not for the money. And
Mhm.
a decent salary, yes, and then move on, let someone else do the job. And I mean, it's just like you hear people like tax the churches, they're doing this and this, and like yeah, I get that to a point, but I think a pastor should draw a salary that from their church that it makes sense for whatever reasons. But if they write a book and that book takes off, like, they earned that money fair and square, I think. But yeah, when it comes to the politicians, where we know that these are public jobs, you're not a public servant for almost $1 million. Like, no.
Yeah.
And LA is expensive, but 750, that's going to get you really far.